Hi, this is Andrew, and you're listening to Knott, a podcast. This is episode 6. This episode's a bit of a special one in that I am breaking from the traditional format. Do I have a traditional format, you might be asking? I don't know. But regardless, we're mixing it up in this one. So this episode is going to feature a story from one of my new favorite parenting writers named Hilde Festerling. I was lucky enough to discover Hilde because she submitted to my parenting humor publication called Frazzled. It's one of the perks of the job, which is good because there's not much pay or anything. So perks are always good. But one of the perks is that you find some amazing writers to read, and in this case, listen to. Here's Hilde's bio. Hilde Festerling is a writer and storyteller for alternative family audiences. She's the creator of the GOAT American novel, an all-ages barnyard gothic podcast available wherever you get your podcast. You can also find her on Medium, where she writes about parenting and making art for and with children. I'm really grateful that Hilde agreed to narrate a recent story that she wrote for Frazzled called When Real Dolls Go Real Rogue. This story is about imaginative play, which I feel like it's a very rich subject matter to explore through writing or podcasting or whatever. I've written a lot about it, probably too much, but you know how it goes with me. I latch on to something and don't let it go. So, for example, episode 2 of this podcast features an imaginative interview I experienced. So check that one out if you haven't yet. Hilde's stories are always so layered and unique, and I love all of them. You'll hear that for yourself in a moment. And make sure you check out her podcast called The GOAT American Novel. Just getting into it, and it's incredible. It's perfect if you're looking for something the whole family to listen to. And it's about goats, so I mean you can't beat that. So stick around for Hilde's story here, and then after that, I'm going to share a story of my own about a somewhat mortifying experience of taking a cardboard box dollhouse to the playground. I wrote that one about 5 years ago when my daughter was 3. I still cringe a little when I think about it, but we survived to, do even more mortifying things later. So that's just how this parenting thing goes, I guess. I hope you enjoy the stories today.
When Real Dolls Go Real Rogue. The Perils of an Imaginative Family Life. I was at my newish girlfriend's house when I got the bing of a text from my kids. They had sent me a photo. The photo was of an eerie-looking little doll in a plastic onesie, missing the top half of her skull, tied to a stake with a tiny firecracker strapped to her back. "What's going on at home?" my new-ish girlfriend asked. Well, where could I begin explaining this photo? "Is everything all right?" she asked. "How do you let a new partner in on the fact that your house is home to a functionally sentient doll who believes herself to be the world's greatest daredevil? Will your new partner find it charming or deeply disturbing?" I showed her the photo and watched closely for her reaction. "What is going on here?" she asked. Reasonably, I might as well go for it. "Well, this doll wants to do a stunt," I explained. "The doll does?" "Well, yes. I mean, that's her character. That doll is the world's greatest daredevil. In our stories." "Are your kids asking permission to light the firecracker?" "No, they can do that safely. They're letting me know that they're waiting for me." "Well, can't their dad supervise?" "Well, yes, but that's not the thing." "So what is the thing?" "Well, they're waiting for me to do the voice. I'm the one that does that doll's voice." I paused. "That doll always makes a speech before she does a stunt." My girlfriend looked up at me. "She doesn't have kids of her own. She doesn't know that sometimes a thing happens in the pressure cooker of family life where a little piece of someone's psyche gets snapped off and stuffed into the body of a doll who then becomes alive for everyone else. A personality in the household." Dr. Giraffe was the first toy in our house to really go bad. He was an unremarkable blue giraffe stuffy. I think he was a baby shower gift. I don't remember how Doc Giraffe became a doctor, but I'm pretty sure he got his license to practice from my kid, Pippi. The chicken or egg question in our house is, which came first, Dr. Giraffe or Pippi's full-on medical phobia? My co-parent and I do voices for all the pets and dolls in the house. The voice that really stuck for Doc Giraffe can be described as a cross between Mickey Mouse and Christopher Walken, a sort of dry yet manic menace. Hi, I'm Doc Giraffe. Anyway, there he was. A blue giraffe that came into our house in an impersonal gift bag, was given a title and profession by our kid Pippi and a voice by us, and voila, we lost control of him. Doc Giraffe routinely kidnapped the other dolls and stuffies and took them to his hideout, which was the hallway towel closet. Pippi, I'd say, this is a red flag. Real doctors don't have hideouts. They have offices. I know, Mom. He just won't stop. Pippi, although they appeared to control Doc Giraffe, was genuinely and horribly afraid of him. Doc Giraffe was in the business of convincing all the dolls that they were vaguely but fatally ill, and that only he, Doc Giraffe, had the solution to their problems. All dolls trapped in the hideout were fed their medicine round the clock. Doc G's cure-all was a mysterious blue smoothie. But it's really his pee, Pippi would tell me in a terrified whisper, and it's what's actually making them sick. There was definitely also needle stuff that went on behind closed doors, but I think Pippi considered me too delicate to witness it. We were new parents with a toddler and a baby, and the whole thing was very alarming. We hoped that this was just a healthy working out of their fears through play, but things continued to get weirder, and the fantasy seemed to be more powerful than the kid. Pippi and their dolls eventually developed a routine of ritualistically killing Doc Giraffe every night before bed, which they insisted they needed to do for the safety of the community. However, just before falling asleep, Pippi would have a regularly scheduled panic attack in which they stared wide-eyed at the ceiling, saying, "Just before he died, he birthed another Doc Giraffe. He's waiting in his hideout and growing stronger. He's coming. Doc Giraffe is coming." Doc Giraffe was the first in our house, but he was not the first rogue doll I'd witnessed. My sister is a Waldorf schoolteacher, and several years ago she made a Waldorf doll named Emily for her daughter Mimi. Now, if you've ever seen a Waldorf doll, I think you'll agree that they're intentionally designed to summon these sorts of problems. These boiled wool dolls have no facial features, save a lump of nose and maybe a pair of embroidered but totally expressionless eyes. Optional. The idea is that the kid can project whatever thoughts or emotions they're experiencing onto the doll. Well, Waldorf school parents, I say, if you play with fire, expect to get fed into a clay pizza oven by a doll who neither smiles nor cries, just stares expressionless into the flames while you scream. Emily the Waldorf doll knew words Mimi hadn't heard at home or school. "That doll cussed me out," Mimi's dad once told me. Emily delivered her nonstop antisocial patter in a kind of high-pitched keening lilt, like the love child of a banshee and Jimbo from The Simpsons. Emily was always doing, or about to do, something gross, rude, or dangerous. She tried to swim in my cat litter. Unlike Doc Giraffe, who stayed at home, Emily wreaked her havoc in the homes of friends and relatives, and howled abuse out of the car window all her merry way. I never intended to have 2 children, but here we are, my sister often said, and this expresses the reality of their house very well. Now, ostensibly, the doll was performed by Mimi, but in the company of girl and doll, one totally lost track of that fact. Mimi and Emily were always doing their own things. Constant and simultaneous, they followed 2 different tracks of behavior, and Mimi was frequently at odds with, even irritated by, Emily's antics. I once babysat them for a week, and I recall having to keep Emily from pouring out the shampoo while giving Mimi her bath. It was exactly as though there were 2 children. Anyone who hasn't experienced this phenomenon, or doubts its power, is welcome to get a pretty good simulation by watching the movie Lars and the Real Girl. Wikipedia summarizes it thusly. The plot follows Lars, a kind-hearted but socially awkward young man who develops a romantic yet non-sexual relationship with an anatomically correct sex doll, a real doll named Bianca. What struck me most about the film isn't that Lars believes Bianca is a real person, but that each member of Lars's community develops their own very real relationship with Bianca the doll. Bianca even gets a job working as a mannequin at the local department store. I watched this movie at the height of Emily's notoriety, and it was eerily consistent with Mimi's family's experience. Maybe Mimi needed Emily to be the bad child, and Pippi needed Dr. Giraffe to externalize the medical anxiety brought on by the birth of their little brother. To get back to my girlfriend's question to me, what is going on here? Why do we need to have the world's greatest daredevil in our house, speaking through my voice, looking up from the palm of my hand and begging me to light that firecracker? In writing all this, I think I can see Marie as an avatar for me as a working artist mom. She expresses the tension between maternal resilience and personal independence. Her hard little body stands strong against the blows of parenting. But she's also a collective creation, a symbol of our family culture and a vehicle for our togetherness. "Mom," I often hear. "Mom, Marie wants to spend the night in the freezer." "Mom, Marie is going to ride this skateboard off the roof. Come do the speech." I will clear my throat and begin. "I, Marie Vinson, the world's greatest daredevil, will now perform the most harrowing stunt in the history of dollkind."
Thank you again to Hilde Festerling for sharing that amazing story. And now we'll move on to my story, which lacks the production value, but hopefully you enjoy it anyway. My story for this episode is called Parenting Means Sometimes Doing the Weirdest Things, like carrying a cardboard box dollhouse to the park, for example. My daughter and I finally took our doll show on the road. It was, hopefully, a one-time only show, so I'm afraid you all missed it. I'm very sorry, but in lieu of the real thing, allow me to paint the picture for you. A poorly dressed, undernourished, and over-caffeinated father slumps from the parking lot toward the playground carrying an assortment of cardboard boxes that appear to be loosely connected by black tape. The box contraption skims along the grassy ground because, holding the other end, is a girl in a shiny yellow princess dress. If you look closely, you may notice the father looks defeated. There's a simple explanation why. It's because he is defeated. Comprehensively defeated. His 3-year-old wanted to lug the conglomeration of boxes to the park, set them up, and play dolls in them. On the other hand, he did not want to do any of that. As you already know, the father lost this argument. However, you might not know that he lost it as badly as a 5-year-old would if an NBA player challenged him to a game of one-on-one and didn't hold back. Jump shots and counter-arguments and plaintive pleas were swatted in every direction with unapologetic force. So you can understand why he looks a bit bedraggled, like a chihuahua after an unexpected bath. You see the father clump of boxes daughter trio enter the fenced playground and position the box near the swings, and then immediately reposition it on the opposite side of the playground because that is obviously the better location. They station 4 dolls with outrageously unkempt hair atop the box abomination in the open air rooftop patio. That is kind of a nice touch, actually. If you were sitting in the pavilion by the playground like a creepy person, this is what you would have observed. You would have also noticed that the playground was completely deserted, except for the doll-playing weirdos. And boy did the weirdos take advantage of the solitude by traipsing around, freaky-haired dolls in tow. The little girl rode the zip line, and the father chased them with the doll over and over again like a madman. Judging by the girl's echoing laughter, she did seem to enjoy it for some reason. They parkoured the dolls across various steps and climbing apparatuses. They dropped dolls down the slide repeatedly. They put all 4 dolls on neighboring swings and took turns pushing them until they fell face first into the mulch. They actually didn't use the odd-looking cardboard box contraption that much, even though it was so important that they bring it. And when other children and parents finally arrived later in the morning, the father played it super cool. He was all like, "What, this? It's just a cardboard box dollhouse. We bring it everywhere. Where's yours?" He didn't say that, of course. He just communicated it telepathically. And it worked. The little weirdos had a nice morning. Finally wrangled the boxes and dolls back into the car before heading home to watch some girls play with dolls on YouTube. Because really, what else would one want to do on a fine late winter day? Take some taped-up cardboard boxes and dolls to the park to play with them in front of everyone? Come on. That would be downright silly. Thank you for listening to Knott, a podcast. You can find more of my writing and work at andrewknott.substack.com. And thank you again to Hilde Festerling for sharing her story on the podcast. Make sure to check out her podcast, The Goat American Novel. You can find it wherever you get your podcasts, and check out her writing on Medium and on Frazzled. Thanks again for listening. Catch you next time.